Thanks for listening to the GOSH podcast. GOSH stands for the Gynecologic Oncology Sharing Hub, an open space for real and evidence-based discussions on gynecologic cancers. We'll share the stories of gynae cancer patients and survivors and hear from researchers and clinicians who are working behind the scenes to improve the lives of people with gynecologic cancers. Our podcast is produced and recorded on the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. It is produced by the Gynecologic Cancer Initiative, a province-wide initiative in British Columbia with the mission to accelerate transformative research and translational practice on the prevention, detection, treatment, and survivorship of gynecologic cancers.
Hi, I'm Nicole Kay.
And I'm Stephanie Lamb.
And you're listening to the GOSH podcast.
Hi, I'm Elmira Jantuyakova. I do behind-the-scenes work for the GOSH podcast. Today, I'll take over Stephanie and Nicole's place as a host, and you're listening to the GOSH podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the GOSH podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Jim Shepard. He is the founder of Plunge for the Cure. The Plunge for the Cure is a foundation, is registered Canadian charity that was established to raise funds for ovarian cancer research. Jim initiated the foundation motivated by family members' ovarian cancer diagnosis and the alarming 5-year survival rate of under 40%. The foundation's focal point is an annual event held on the last Sunday in May, where individuals and teams engage in fundraising and take part in celebrating the arrival of summer by plunging into the water. These funds are directed towards world-renowned ovarian cancer research centers at UBC and VGH in Vancouver. The episode aims to spotlight ovarian cancer issues, sharing the inspiring stories and efforts of individuals like Jim Shepard. Their collective effort is to raise awareness and improve outcomes for ovarian cancer. Yeah, thank you for joining us today on the podcast and willing to answer our questions. So let me start with the first question regarding founding the Plunge for the Cure. Can you take us back to the moment when you decided to establish Plunge for the Cure, and what was the driving force behind creating this foundation?
Well, if I go back to the very, very start, I was sitting having dinner. I was just about to have dinner. I was sitting in a restaurant in Palm Springs on a Saturday night, and I was sitting down just about to put my knife and fork into this wonderful dinner was put before me, and my cell phone rang. Mm-hmm. And it was my son. Mm-hmm. And he says, "Hey, Dad, how you doing?" I says, "Good. How you doing?" He says, "Are you sitting down?" Mm-hmm. And I says, "Well, yeah, I'm sitting down. Why?" He says, "Well, I've got some pretty serious news to tell you." And I said, "What's that?" He says, "Well, Leslie has been diagnosed with ovarian cancer." Well, anyway, to make a long story short, I was on the plane the next day back home. Mm-hmm. And then we began the vigil that goes with the diagnosis of ovarian cancer and the treatment that goes with it. I knew nothing about ovarian cancer. I'd been involved with a company designed to develop a drug for prostate cancer a number of years before. So I was familiar with the whole idea of what it takes to run a clinical trial. Mm-hmm. And to combat prostate cancer. I knew nothing about ovarian cancer, so I did some homework. And I was disturbed to see that the survival rate, 5-year survival rate, was under 40%. And when in fact I knew that the prostate cancer survival rate for 5 years was over 90%. Mm. I knew that because I was involved with the prostate cancer project at a company I worked with. I was a chair of a company called Oncogenics, whose purpose was to develop a prostate cancer drug. Mm-hmm. So I saw the difference between the survival rate of prostate cancer for men and the survival rate of ovarian cancer for women. And I just thought there's something wrong here. I looked a little bit further and I saw that the awareness level of ovarian cancer was low. And that, not surprisingly, results in a relatively low fundraising performance.
Mm-hmm.
So between all that, I decided to do something. And how I arrived at what we did was I'm born and raised in Vancouver. I was raised in the West End, and English Bay was my playground.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that on the third weekend in May, they brought the rafts around for swimming,
Mm-hmm.
and the lifeguards went on duty. And for us kids that went to Lord Roberts School, just a few blocks from English Bay, we would go to school with the towels around our neck, because as far as we were concerned, those rafts arriving meant it was the beginning of summer. So all of us down in the West End that lived there in those days, summer began for us in the last week of May,
Mm-hmm.
and it was wonderful. By the time other kids got out of school at the end of June and came down to English Bay, we all had tans and we're feeling pretty smug about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we used to pride ourselves in the fact that summer came early to us. I thought, you know what? That's not a bad idea. So I thought, you know what? We're going to hold an event that celebrates summer comes early in Vancouver. And we chose the last weekend, the last Sunday in May to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we celebrated with the Plunge for the Cure. And we now hold it at Kitsilano Beach.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you for sharing that story. I was wondering if your experience with the prostate cancer treatment and clinical trials helped you or like navigate the Plunge for the Cure Foundation and its goals.
Could you ask that question again, please?
So if your experience with the prostate cancer like campaigns and clinical trials, did that experience help you in any way in founding and Plunge for the
What
Cure?
you mean with my experience with the prostate cancer initiative?
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
that help?
well, yes,
Mhm.
yes, it did. A couple of things.
Yeah.
It showed me two, well, a couple of things. One is that a clinical trial is a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
It requires thousands of, not hundreds, but thousands of patients to be enrolled.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of effort by very expert people for it to happen. And so because of that, I was quite aware that if we are going to have an impact on ovarian cancer, there's going to need to be more funding. And I felt that the Plunge for the Cure Foundation that we've established for Vancouver to be held at Kits Beach could be the forerunner for Plunge for the Cures in other parts of the world. So somewhere maybe in 10 years from now, there'll be a dozen Plunge for the Cures around the world, raising
Mm-hmm.
millions of dollars for ovarian cancer. That's my long range look. But right at the moment, we're focused on making sure that we've got a tremendous success with Plunge for the Cure at Kits Beach right here in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's great. And I like how you like bring back your childhood memories um, about like plunging and swimming in the ocean at English Bay. Like it's very very cool and sweet memory. And I feel like in terms of Plunge for the Cure, it's really accessible because a lot of fundraisers do like 5K marathons or like the full marathons, and it's kind of might be inaccessible to some people. But Plunge for the Cure, like everybody can do it. Seems like kids, families, anyone of different abilities, I would say. And I was going to ask you about more details about the annual sort of the culmination event in the last summer of May. What activities take place? What participants and supporters could expect from the event?
Okay, well, first of all, it's a genuine family event.
Mm-hmm.
We have young children, as I'm not sure how young they could be, but they'd have to be big enough to be able to walk into the water. So maybe 4 or 5 years old is the youngest ones. And the older ones, there's a few of us in our 80s. I think there might even be 1 or 2 in their 90s. I'm not sure. So it takes in all ages. And so it's very open and very available for everybody. And it's a plunge. It's not a swim, although we do have several hardy souls that make a point of swimming out a little in the deeper water and stay out there for quite a long time. But they're the superheroes. The rest of us, we go in and plunge, splash around, take pictures, and just have fun. And what's really quite amazing is that you're having so much fun when you're doing it. I have never heard anybody ever complain about the temperature of the water. You don't even feel that because it's just so enjoyable. Because you're having fun doing something that is extremely important, and that is raising funds and awareness for ovarian cancer. One important aspect of our foundation that is unique is that we are a pure charity, all volunteer. We have no head office, we have no paid staff, permanently paid staff, and we have no overhead. So every dollar we raise goes directly into ovarian cancer research at UBC VGH.
That's great. And when I was researching about Plunge for the Cure, I saw that there were some also activities for the kids, to keep them engaged and things like that. And
yes, well,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So what we do is we hold it in a lawn area right behind the Boathouse restaurant at Kitts Beach, and we call it the Punch Bowl. And it's surrounded by tents. There's a tent there for the lifeguards and first aid people. There's another tent there for the popcorn and hot chocolate and treats, and so on. And this year we're going to have tents sponsored by the Royal Bank of Canada. Another tent is sponsored by KPMG. Another tent is sponsored by Nicola Wealth. Another tent is sponsored by TELUS Health, and there'll be some more. And we'll have a booth there, a tent there for CKNW and CFOX, because they're going to be our medium for broadcasting our commercials and awareness. We have an area called the Children's Zone, and in the Children's Zone we'll have a balloon artist there, providing balloon artwork for the kids, and we'll have face painting. And we'll have cornball engagements and other children's activities. And it is right adjacent to a very modern and advanced children's playground. So the kids can have and will have a lot of fun there. They really enjoy it.
Yeah, it seems like it's really family friendly. So, and it's great to hear that all these big companies like TELUS, KPMG are supporting these events.
Absolutely, it's vital. Their support are the ones that have made it possible for us to make as much progress as we have. And we've done quite well. In under 2 years, we've already turned over $470,000 to UBC VGH ovarian cancer research. Wow. So we're making headway.
And when did the Plunge for the Cure started?
Well, we had a rehearsal plunge in May 2022 out at Jericho Beach, and that was a rehearsal to work the bugs out. There was about 75 of us that did that plunge that day, but it was really to find out all the wrinkles, and we discovered a number of wrinkles that had to be ironed out, and then we felt, okay, we're ready to go to the main event, which was Kitts Beach. So in May 2023, we held our grand inaugural at Kitts Beach. We had over 200 plunging, and it was great fun. And from that, we've learned to enhance it even more, make it even more fun. It'll be significantly bigger on May 26, 2024.
Yeah, great. And that's really impressive. In just basically in 2 to 3 years, you raised, as you said, 450,000.
470,000, yeah. And there's more, and there's more where that came from.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Just talking about the VGH and UBC research facilities, I was just wondering, how does the Plunge for the Cure collaborate with them, and how does the partnership contribute to advancement of ovarian cancer treatment?
Well, I wanted to make sure that we were dealing with experts, and that the key is, what I wanted to do is, I didn't want to establish a charity that would have a head office with a bunch of bureaucracy involved, that with a remote distance from the actual research laboratory. So right from the get-go, when I established the cabinet, I recruited Dr. Diane Miller, a retired, I think most everybody in ovarian cancer know about Dr. Diane Miller. and Dr. David Huntsman, the two founders of Offcare. So they both were the first two that I asked to join the cabinet. Dr. Janice Kwan, who's heads up of the gynecological area in ovarian cancer research, and so we had we had the medical expertise right in our cabinet, and then that was augmented with people like Juggy Sahota, who heads up TELUS Health and who's on the board of UBC VGH. She's a huge help to us, and then a number of others that are based. Pamela Martin, everybody would know Pamela from her days at TV and radio. She's our ongoing MC, and Sam Sullivan. People would know about Sam. Sam is an expert in messaging and public communication. And Kelly Heed, and who's an expert in communicating with the business community, and so forth. So the cabinet is made up of a combination of expertise in the medical and expertise in communication and expertise in business. So I wanted to make sure all the different avenues were covered in our cabinet to make sure that we were communicating as effectively as we could.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a really powerful team. From my interactions with Diane Miller, with Jessica Kwan, it's really, and David Huntsman is my supervisor, so it's a
Janice Kwan.
Janice Kwan, yeah. we have
That's okay.
ones in the lab, but yeah, it's great. I'm pretty sure some people from our listeners are already thinking about joining the event, and I was just wondering how individuals can get involved for this cause, for the Plunge for the Cure.
Good question. We have a website. It's called plungeforthecure.org. If you go onto that website, it'll give you directions, or give you a guide how you can register. The registration just opened earlier this week, so the timing of this interview is perfect. So if you go onto that website and just follow the prompts for register, you can register as an individual, but we really encourage people to register as a team, either a family team or a corporate office team, or a school team, whatever group that you have with you, and fundraise with it.
Yeah, great. I will attach the link to the website in our show notes, so feel free to go to the link and see what's available. So I know you mentioned a little bit about the future of Plunge for the Cure, but I was wondering if you can maybe elaborate about the future aspirations for the Plunge for the Cure and maybe some of the milestones for the foundation.
Yeah. Basically, what we're doing right now is we're refining the template of a Plunge for the Cure right here at Kits Beach in Vancouver. Once we've got that completely refined to the point where we say we've really got it, we've covered everything. We've crossed the T's, dotted all the I's. We've encountered all the possible complications that you can run into with this kind of an event, and we've ironed them out. And we have a clear instruction book, if you will, on how to conduct a Plunge for the Cure. Once we've done that, and it's going to be another couple of years before I think we've really got the template completely clean and clear and precise. Once we have that, we would then start to reach out across Canada, starting probably with Calgary, and then probably next to Toronto. I'm not sure of that. It could be other places. But the idea, my long-range goal, is that this becomes such a successful and wonderful, fun event in raising awareness and funding for ovarian cancer research, that is something that can catch fire eventually. But it won't catch fire until we get it absolutely perfect here in Vancouver at Kits Beach, and then we move on out to other locations. But I can see where this could be something that could spread globally if it's really done properly. But I don't even want to get ahead of myself. And you're just asking me what my long-range plan is. That's not in our plan right now. That's sketched. Those are sketch plans, but they're not going to be activated until we've got it absolutely right here in Vancouver.
So some of the milestones that you're thinking about in Vancouver, what are the things that you are planning for Vancouver for now?
Well, we don't talk about how much we're going to get.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it's like. When I started this, I set out from a little island in a little boat with a cabinet, David Huntsman and Diane Miller and Janice Kwan and so forth. Okay. And we're heading away from this island, which is full of ovarian cancer, not full of ovarian cancer, but it has ovarian cancer that isn't being beaten properly.
Yeah.
And we're sailing away from that.
Mm-hmm.
And all we can see in front of us is the horizon.
Yeah.
Okay. So where we're going on that horizon, it's not really clear. So I can't spell out to you. All I can do is if you ask me about my progress, to do that, I look back and see how far we are from the island. And right now we're 470,000 miles, $470,000 away from that island. And I expect by the end of the year, we'll be much, much more than that. But I don't talk about how much we're going to do ahead of us. I talk about how much we've already done. Because to me, what's getting done is more important to talk about than what we're going to do.
That's great. Thank you. I think that was my last question. And thanks so much for, first of all, for founding the Plunge for the Cure and doing all the work. Thank you so much for that. I do believe that this is a really great initiative. In this podcast, we talk a lot about women's health, how it's have been historically underfunded, understudied, and you are here and your team is doing the work to improve that or to fight that. And thank you so much for all your work and joining us today. Thanks.
Okay. Well, just encourage everybody, come on out to the Plunge. If you're not going to plunge, then just come out and cheer us on. And we'll have Dr. Janice Kwan there who'll be able to take your credit card with a donation.
Thank you so much. And yeah, everybody follow the link in the show notes to the Plunge for the Cure website and join us for the Plunge 26th of May.
26th, yep. 26th of May.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Gosh podcast. To learn more about the Gynecologic Cancer Initiative and our podcast, make sure to check out our website at gynecancerinitiative.ca.